Now South Vietnam, and a report on a remarkable religious community which lives on an island in the middle of the Mekong Delta. Phoenix Island, also known as the Island of Peace, lies 70 miles south of Saigon. It's an extraordinary place, not only because of its strange constructions and religious symbols, but also because it somehow managed to remain an oasis of peace throughout the worst years of the Vietnam War. Even though it's a kind of religious utopia, the island is no exclusive retreat and actively encourages visitors, both prospective converts and tourists. The main attraction for visitors is naturally the temple, a fantastic blend of Christian and Buddhist symbols. The main faith of Phoenix Island is Daoism, a philosophy of nature worship more ancient than Buddhism. But every faith is welcome on the island, including Christianity, and they're all encouraged to exist side by side and even mingle. The sect's main aim is to promote peace in Vietnam, and the members are pledged to maintain a constant vigil so long as the fighting continues. For them, times of war are times of penitence and prayer. The community is the creation of this man, Nguyen Than Nam, a Dao mystic who hasn't lain down to rest for 25 years and who spent most of his life perched on a tree. He's known as the coconut monk, and his dream is to blend together all the world's religions and to lead a movement for world peace. He once studied chemical engineering in France, and when the French Indochina War broke out, he took a vow of silence which lasted 13 years. Today he's again silent, and an acolyte speaks for him. The basis of Than Nam's teaching is the creed of non-violence, a belief common to both Buddhism and Daoism, and it's attracted some 6,000 followers to his cause. All of those who join the community are expected to live a life of celibacy and adhere to a strict vegetarian diet. The coconut monk himself exists on a diet of coconut milk and vegetable juice. He communicates his message of peace to visitors with the aid of a bear and a monkey, natural enemies he's taught to share a cage. The bear is also good entertainment value for the children of the tourists. Moving about the island, it's easy to believe that the coconut monk does in fact have the secret of peace. During 1958, he broke his silence to go on a preaching tour of Vietnam. He failed to stop the fighting, but he did succeed in getting both sides to spare his island. Today, his island is a haven for deserters from both the Viet Cong and the South Vietnamese Army. Four years ago, when Roving Report first went to Phoenix Island, the Mekong Delta was filled with the noise of jets and helicopter gunships, and it was easy to be cynical about the power of prayer. How many B-52s did a prayer ever stop, we asked. But even then, as now, the rattle of machine gun fire and the whine of mortars stayed far away. And it was possible to believe that the inspiration for peace could really come from this island, where the air was filled with holy sounds. On this island of peace, they really believe in the power of prayer, and every member takes part in prayer services which go on 24 hours a day, every day of the year. The praying is organized in relays, with each family group in the community taking its turn of duty in the temple. They will stop, they say, only when the last shot has been fired in anger. Basically, the sect wants to stay out of politics, but in a land where there can be no peace without politics, it's a vain hope. The coconut monk has made only two political gestures. First, he asked for the chance to end the war. Then he announced he'd run against President Thieu in the last election. The result has been a close police watch on his community. It's not a new experience for the coconut monk. In the past, he's been jailed 7 times by the South Vietnamese, twice by the Cambodians, and once by the Viet Cong. In the eyes of the military, the monk's message of peace is nothing more nor less than an incitement to desertion. Four years ago, the coconut monk had his disciples construct a special conference table made of 5 different woods representing the 5 major nations involved in the Vietnam War. His ambition then as now was to play host to a peace conference at which he would reveal the peace plan which he has kept secret for a quarter of a century. Even though Paris is now the site for the peace talks, the coconut monk remains optimistic and his table is still being kept in readiness. Meanwhile, the islanders are surviving partly by catering for tourists. Some of their income comes from selling pottery to wealthy visitors, but mostly they lead Spartan lives consistent with their philosophy of living close to nature. From the simplest materials, the results often come close to being masterpieces. But the community is really only able to survive at all because of the generosity of the people of the Mekong, many of whom are the families of monks who've deserted from the army and who are unable to return openly to their farms. It's a hard life, but if real peace doesn't come to Vietnam soon, it could get even harder. It's impossible to say how much influence the coconut monk has had on ending the Vietnam War. No doubt many people would say it's the skill of the negotiators in Paris rather than the prayers of this island that will finally end the conflict. But under the guidance of the coconut monk, the people here have found peace and contentment. And in the present state of Vietnam, that is no mean achievement.